Picture Gardena, California, sometime in the early 2000s. Inside a nondescript industrial warehouse, dozens of right-hand drive Japanese sports cars sit bumper to bumper under fluorescent lights, engines still ticking as they cool. These are Nissan Skyline GTRs, shipped straight from Japan, and for a while, business is booming, quietly worth millions of dollars a year. Then federal investigators start showing up. Officials from the Department of Transportation and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration begin pulling paperwork, and what they uncover is a mess. A California importer had been quietly mislabeling newer Skylines as older models to sneak them past federal safety rules, and when regulators catch on, the company's importer license gets pulled entirely. Cars start disappearing. Owners scatter. And in the years that follow, government agents track down more than one of these six-figure Japanese icons and physically crush them into scrap metal, right here on American soil. One of them, a bright yellow demo car nicknamed Big Bird, had even made a background cameo in the very first Fast and Furious movie, before it was eventually seized and destroyed. This is not a movie plot. This genuinely happened, and it is only one chapter in one of the strangest, longest-running sagas in automotive history, the deliberate exclusion of some of the greatest performance cars ever built from American roads. Here is the part that never quite makes sense to outsiders. These cars are not banned because they are dangerous, or unreliable, or bad. Quite the opposite. Some of the most race-winning, world championship-claiming, genuinely legendary machines on the planet have been kept out of the United States purely on paper, thanks to crash test requirements enforced by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, tailpipe emissions rules enforced by the Environmental Protection Agency, and a 1988 law called the Imported Vehicle Safety Compliance Act, which enthusiasts everywhere simply call the 25-year rule. That law was originally pushed hard by American Mercedes-Benz dealers, worried that a booming gray market in unofficial imports was quietly undercutting their new car sales. Under the rule, any car never originally built or certified to American federal standards cannot legally hit public roads here until it reaches 25 years of age, counted from its exact month of manufacture. 4 decades, that has meant absolute legends sitting one ocean away, fully legal and adored in Tokyo, Turin, and Sydney, while American enthusiasts could only watch from behind a screen. And if stories like this get you fired up, do us a favor and smash that subscribe button right now, because we are about to count down 5 of the wildest, most desirable forbidden cars on the planet. Let's get into it. Number 5 takes us to Brazil, for a car most Americans have genuinely never heard of, the Chevrolet Opala SS. Back in 1968, General Motors' Brazilian division unveiled a brand new mid-size sedan, built on the underpinnings of the German Opel record, but stuffed full of American hardware, including a 4.1-liter inline-six pulled straight from Chevrolet's own parts bin, the same basic engine family that powered full-size Chevrolets back home. When the sport-tuned SS version launched in 1971, it became Brazil's answer to the muscle car, producing somewhere between 140 and 170 horsepower depending on the year, and topping 100 miles per hour, at a time when the average Brazilian driver was piloting a Volkswagen Beetle making less than 50 horsepower. A fierce rivalry with the Ford Maverick at Brazil's 24 Hours of Interlagos endurance race pushed Chevrolet engineers to keep making the engine stronger and stronger, and the Opala went on to dominate Brazilian touring car racing for years, racking up championships in the Stock Car Brazil series and even serving as the standard patrol vehicle for the Brazilian Federal Police. But here is the frustrating twist. This car never got anywhere near American shores. It was never crash-tested to National Highway Traffic Safety Administration standards, never certified by the Environmental Protection Agency, and General Motors simply never saw a business case for selling a low-cost, carbureted Brazilian sedan inside the United States. Over 1 million were built, and every single one of them stayed south of the border. Number 4 cranks up the intensity and heads to Italy, home of a car that pulled off something almost unheard of in motorsport: total, sustained domination. The Lancia Delta HF Integrale launched in 1987, running a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder engine making around 185 horsepower in its earliest form, and climbing past 200 horsepower in later Evoluzione variants, all sent through a rally-bred all-wheel drive system. On the World Rally Championship stage, the Integrale remains, to this day, the single winningest car in the sport's history, capturing 6 consecutive manufacturers' championships from 1987 all the way through 1992, powering champions like Juha Kankinen and Miki Bayasayan, and racking up 46 individual rally victories along the way. This should have been an easy sell in America. Except there was one enormous roadblock. By the time the Integrale existed, Lancia had already abandoned the American market entirely, pulling out after the 1982 model year following a reputation-destroying scandal over rust-prone beta models that had the company literally buying cars back from furious owners. That means the single greatest rally car in history was never crash-tested for American roads, never emission-certified, and never legally sold new in the United States. Full stop. American enthusiasts were left with rally footage, imported magazines, and a 25-year wait. Number 3 drops us into Australia, home of a car built to win exactly one race. The Ford Falcon GTHO Phase 3 launched in 1971, packing a 351 cubic inch Cleveland V8 that Ford officially, and very conservatively, rated at 300 horsepower purely to keep insurance companies calm. Independent testing put the real number closer to 350, maybe even 380 horsepower, making the Phase 3 arguably the fastest four-door production sedan on planet Earth at the time, capable of hitting 142 miles per hour flat out. Just 300 were built for racing homologation, and legendary driver Alan Moffat piloted one to outright victory in the Hardy Ferodo 500 at Bathurst in 1971. Ford planned an even crazier successor, the Phase 4, rumored to top 160 miles an hour. Then in 1972, an Australian newspaper ran a front-page story warning the public about killer supercars roaring onto local streets, and the public panic that followed, known ever since as the supercar scare, forced Ford Australia to cancel the Phase 4 practically overnight, with only a handful ever completed. As for cracking America, the GTHO Phase 3 never stood a chance. Built purely for the Australian market, it was never engineered for federal crash testing, never certified for American emissions rules, and never intended to leave the Southern Hemisphere in any real numbers. Today, surviving Phase 3s sell at auction for well over $1 million Australian dollars. Forever the fastest sedan America never got to drive. Number 2 takes us into Germany, and into the most violent, unhinged, genuinely dangerous era motorsport has ever produced, Group B rallying. In 1984, Audi built 214 examples of the Sport Quattro purely to satisfy Group B homologation rules, powered by a 2.1-liter turbocharged inline-5 making 302 horsepower in road-going trim, wrapped in a body shortened by over a foot and constructed from Kevlar and fiberglass to shed every possible pound. Then Audi pushed further, unleashing the evolved Sport Quattro S1, with full competition versions pushing past 440 horsepower, and by 1987, a specially built Pikes Peak Hill Climb version making somewhere around 600 horsepower, complete with an anti-lag turbo system so aggressive it kept boost spooled even with the throttle closed. Behind the wheel, rally legend Walter Röhrl shattered the mountain's course record, becoming the very first driver ever to conquer Pikes Peak in under 11 minutes. But Group B's legacy carries real tragedy. On May 2, 1986, driver Henri Toivonen and co-driver Sergio Cresto were killed instantly when their Lancia Delta South 4 left the road at the Tour Delaware Course Rally and burst into flames. Within hours, motorsport's governing body banned Group B outright for the following season, permanently ending the wildest era rallying has ever seen. Back home in America, the Sport Quattro story was equally dead on arrival. It was never crash-tested to National Highway Traffic Safety Administration standards, never emission certified, and Audi had zero intention of selling a 200,000 Deutschmark, hand-built homologation special inside the United States. It remained forbidden fruit, a car so violent it helped end its own racing category, and so exclusive it had no legal path onto American roads for decades. Which brings us back to exactly where we started, and number 1, the ultimate holy grail, the car so desirable that grown adults built shell companies, faked paperwork, and quite literally shipped engines and chassis separately just to sneak them past customs, the R34 Nissan Skyline GTR. Built from 1999 through 2002, it ran the legendary RB26D ETT, a 2.6-liter twin-turbocharged inline-6 officially rated at a suspiciously round 276 horsepower. That number was never a technical ceiling. It was a gentleman's agreement among Japanese manufacturers in the 1990s to cap advertised output, and independent dyno testing consistently showed real-world figures well over 320 horsepower, sent through Nissan's all-wheel drive ATESA system and four-wheel steering. This was the car that built an entire underground culture around itself, worshipped in drifting circles, immortalized in Gran Turismo, and turned into a global icon by the Fast and Furious franchise. Because of the 25-year rule, the R34 was completely locked out of America when new, and that desperation fueled the Motorex saga we opened with, a company that legitimately federalized dozens of R33 Skylines through genuine crash testing, before getting caught mislabeling newer R32 and R34 models as older cars, ultimately losing its importer license entirely in 2006. Other importers tried even shadier workarounds, shipping engines and chassis separately labeled as spare parts, only to have federal agents track down the reassembled cars and crush them. Even Paul Walker, the very actor whose Fast and Furious films turned this car into a worldwide icon, personally owned one of the roughly 15 R34s that Motorex fully and legally federalized before the scandal broke. Today, thanks to the 25-year rule, R34 GTRs built from January 1999 onward are finally rolling into the country completely legally, month by month, all the way through 2027, with clean examples now trading hands for anywhere between $140,000 to $280,000. It only took a quarter-century, multiple federal investigations, and a small graveyard of crushed skylines to get here. 5 countries, 5 legends, and one incredibly stubborn set of federal regulations standing between American driveways and some of the greatest performance cars the world has ever produced. So here's the question for the comment section. If you could import just one of these 5 tomorrow, fully legal, zero waiting. Which one is going straight into your garage tonight? Drop your answer below, and I will catch you in the next one.